Hello, and welcome back to Getting Started with Laravel. Today we'll be looking at how to actually set up the Laravel application locally. After installing Herd, you have two options. You can either use the Herd interface to install it, or through the command line interface. Both of these use each other. To do it via the command line, you simply type in Laravel, new Laravel 12 test. This part is going to be the directory name, and it'll give you the interface. So for the sake of this one, we're going to install no starter kit. We're going to want to set up a MySQL database. We'd like it to run a default, and we'd like it to run npm install and npm run build. After we have this installed, cd into the Laravel application, and as we are using Herd, we can use Herd open, and then this should open it up locally. The other option is you're going to want to go up to Herd, site, add new site, new Laravel project, no starter kit. I'm going to call this a slightly different name. Next again. And then this will install locally and set up everything. After this is done, press open in browser, and there you go. Now we're going to look at the basic directory structure of the Laravel application. Starting with the app folder. The app directory contains all the files you're going to be needing for your application, such as controllers, models, providers, requests, and anything of a similar sort of nature. Next is the bootstrap file. This contains the app.php file, which bootstraps the framework. This is also where it registers routes, middleware, exceptions, and other such things. It also houses the cache directory. This is used by the framework to generate any files needed for optimization. The config directory, this does what it implies and houses any files related to configurations within the application. An example of this will be the database configuration. This houses the connections for MySQL, and it pulls through the details via the env file. Next is the database folder. This houses the factories, migrations, and seeders. Factories are going to be used for creating new data for your models. Migrations are used to alter the database, and seeders are used to fill the database full of data. Public contains the index.php. This is your access point for any requests coming in and passes it through to the framework. Resources contains the views files and any uncompiled JavaScript or CSS. The routes folder contains web.php and console.php by default, and this is what registers any routes within the application. There is the exception of API routes, which can be installed via an artisan command, but we'll get to that later. Next is the storage folder. This contains any storage files needed and outputs for your logs or anything of a similar nature. Next is the test folder. This contains any unit tests or feature tests. There's two options for this, PHP unit and pest. And last but not least is the vendor folder. This contains any files or dependencies installed via Composer. The other things that's worth going over is the env file. This contains any information that will be passed from config or secrets needed to run the application. The env example is pretty much a mirror of the env. This should be used within source control to provide examples, but not the actual environment details you'll be using in production. The composer.json, this is a standard composer file that lists your dependencies and your dev dependencies. Package.json, similar to composer.json, lists any dev dependencies or dependencies needed. This should give you a general overview of everything within the Laravel application. In the next episode, we'll go over how to actually use the application and make any edits and create new features when needed.